When we think of the Constitution, we often think of the Bill of Rights, with its famed 10 amendments. Or we think of the government structure created by the document, 3 branches of government, checks and balances, etc. But as stackers and collectors, a question that might be of interest to us would be, what exactly does the Constitution say about money? And the answer is, not much. Let's take a look. Calling all Patriots. I am issuing this video in response to a giveaway challenge by Merica Silver Patriot. His challenge is to create a video in which an excerpt of the Constitution is read out loud, or in which a Constitution-related article or analysis of some sort is shared. Information on his challenge and giveaway are in the description for this video. And here's my plan for the video. I will be reading the only 2 clauses from the Constitution that address matters of money, currency, and coins. We will then explore some analysis of the issue from the Bill of Rights Institute. And finally, we will look at Constitution-themed coins released by the U.S. Mint. So hopefully, you'll stick around. Now, at the time of the Constitutional Convention in 1787, monetary issues were a significant concern. Throughout the Revolution, stable money was hard to come by. The Continentals, a type of paper money issued by the Continental Congress, were notoriously unstable and lost much of their value over time. Although monetary issues were significant for the framers, the Constitution actually has little to say about the matter. So let's take a look at what it does say. First, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5. The Congress shall have power to coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures. The second clause that addresses money in the Constitution is Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, which reads, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. That's basically it. Nothing more. So, to get some insight to that and a little bit of historical context, let's turn to the Bill of Rights Institute. On their website, they have a brief little article or essay that addresses the issue of money and the Constitution. And so if you'll bear with me, I will go through it quickly. It reads, it is difficult to overstate the task the Founding Fathers faced at the Constitutional Convention. One fundamental aspect of society at the forefront of the founders' minds was money, the economic medium of exchange. Prior to money, barter was the main vehicle of trade. For example, a carpenter who wanted some apples would have to locate an apple farmer who needed some woodwork for his home. What counts as money varies depending on what commodities are valuable to that society. In colonial Virginia, bank-like warehouses stored tobacco and issued per-pound receipts that were in turn used as money in local markets. The receipts came to represent the amount of tobacco the individual had stored away. Coin monies were also widely circulated, with some particular coins being used in trades around the globe. Money was a well-established concept by the time the founders started crafting the Constitution in 1787. In 1784, Thomas Jefferson, who was generally skeptical of banking institutions, recognized the importance of money. He argued for a decimal-based coinage system for the United States in a pamphlet titled Notes on the Establishment of a Money Unit and of Coinage in the United States. And indeed, the Constitution gave Congress the power to coin or create and regulate the values and weights of foreign and domestic monies. The fifth clause of Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress this power, as well as the power to prosecute counterfeiters. Despite Congress's new power, coin circulation and values was not immediately uniform throughout the colonies. Though Congress ordered the creation of the first mint in 1792, the Spanish dollar, also known as a piece of 8, remained legal tender and widely circulated within the United States until 1857, when the Coinage Act officially ended the Spanish dollar's reign in America. The Constitution gives clear instruction on the authority to mint coins, but it is silent on the issuance of paper money. In England in the early 1600s, wealthy people began leaving their gold in the hands of goldsmiths, people with a capacity to store large quantities of the precious metal. In return, the goldsmith would issue a receipt which became, quote, as good as gold, unquote. This practice eventually found its way to the United States, and the receipts began to be known as banknotes. Since the Constitution granted no specific authority, private banknotes competed with government notes in the market. Inflationary practices existed on both sides, as banks failed to resist the temptation to print notes that had no backing in deposits. But since no paper currency had the privilege of a legal mandate, the inflated notes of the poorly managed banks just stopped being circulated, as people began to view them as worthless. Though no centralized force controlled paper money, stabilizing agents did emerge. The Suffolk bank system is a great example of how some private banks standardized the value of paper money. The United States government began printing paper money in the early 1860s. The Union needed to finance the Civil War and began issuing greenbacks to pay its bills. With the Legal Tender Act, Congress authorized the Treasury to create this money and eventually created the official paper money printing agency, known as the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, in the late 1870s. Several Supreme Court cases challenged this action of Congress. In Hepburn versus Griswold in 1869, the court ruled paper money unconstitutional. But just a year later, the court overturned Hepburn in Knox versus Lee, 1870, and Parker versus Davis, also in 1870. The court reaffirmed the constitutionality of paper money several years later in Juilliard versus Greenman, 1884. In 1913, Congress vested all power to produce paper notes in the Federal Reserve. Despite its name, the Federal Reserve is actually a private institution set apart from the government. The Congress passed the Federal Reserve Act in hopes of stabilizing the somewhat tumultuous bank industry. Over time, the value of Federal Reserve notes has declined. Initially, Federal Reserve notes were tied to gold, but that relationship was tenuously severed during the Great Depression and completely severed in 1971. Money underwent another transformation as technology advanced. Many transactions today are done in the digital realm, with bytes of information being the only things that change. Since the Constitution does not specifically grant authority over paper money, let alone digital dollars, some people wonder if aspects of our monetary system are unconstitutional. One state senator from South Carolina has even called on his state legislature to study whether the Palmetto State should create its own currency. Do you believe Congress should have issued an amendment concerning the issuing of paper money? Or does paper money fit into Congress's enumerated power, including the necessary and proper clause? The end. Okay, so finally, to what extent has the Constitution been addressed in coinage issued by the United States Mint? As best I've been able to determine, 1987 is the only year that the U.S. government has issued coins to commemorate or honor the U.S. Constitution. If I'm wrong and anybody knows otherwise, please feel free to let me know in the comments. In that year, 2 coins were issued to honor the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. The U.S. Mint issued a .900 pure silver dollar, as pictured on the screen here. The Red Book notes that this silver dollar was designed by Patricia Lewis Verani using standard weight, size, and fineness. A quill pen, a sheaf of parchment, and the words "We the People" are depicted on the obverse. The reverse portrays a cross-section of Americans from various periods representing contrasting lifestyles. Second, the U.S. Mint issued a .900 pure gold $5 coin, pictured here. That coin contains 0.24187 ounces of gold. And the Red Book notes that the gold coin contains a modernistic design by Marcel Jovin, and it was created in standard weight, size, and fineness. The obverse portrays a stylized eagle holding a massive quill pen. Another large quill pen is featured on the reverse. To the left are 9 stars signifying the first 9 colonies that ratified the Constitution. 4 stars in the right represent the remaining original states. And for both the coins, uncirculated and proof versions were minted at the West Point Mint. Now, personally, I only own one of these 2 coins, the silver dollar. And here is a photo of it here. I picked it up a few weeks ago, got it off eBay, and I'm really pleased with my purchase. I do have a tremendous affinity for the Constitution, for all things, as I mentioned in previous videos, related to colonial America and the American Revolution. We have the 4th of July Independence Day coming up, so it seems like the moment to talk about a lot of this stuff. And when I look at the coin, I really am very pleased. I do like the look of it. This has kind of a cameo-type finish. I'm not sure if it's a proof, but I suspect it must be with that cameo-type finish. It has the U.S. Constitution 200th anniversary on there, the year 1787, 1987, the reference to liberty, and, of course, the opening of the preamble of the Constitution, "We the People." I like the layout. I think it's put together very nicely. It's got the parchment for the Constitution, the quill that would have written, and I've neglected to mention it's got "In God We Trust" up at the top. A lot of information there, a lot of stuff, yet it all is fit in very nicely and artistically. When we look at the reverse of my coin, this is it here. It has the E pluribus unum, United States of America, and then $1. Okay. The representation of the various Americans of different time periods, classes, backgrounds, etc., is presented there. A really neat idea. I'm not sure if it works as well in actuality as it might in the idea. The image to me is a little bit odd looking, but overall I still like it. I just think the front of the coin is quite spectacular, and the back is a little bit more on the pedestrian side. I do not have a gold coin, the $5 coin that they issued. It's on my wish list. I would like to have the complete set at some point, so hopefully I will be able to pull that off down the road. So anyways, for those of you that have stuck it all the way through, I thank you for hanging on and sticking with me. Your support is much appreciated. As is always the case, if you could please hit like if you liked the video. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. That way you will be notified of future videos of mine. It also helps me out. And if you have any thoughts on the coins, the Constitution, money, the time period, and want to share those in the comments section, please go ahead and do so. Till next time, best wishes and have yourselves a good day.